evening, everybody, and welcome to another Open Door show. It's great to have you here. If this is your first time, I'm Richard Clapson, and you are here on the Open Door show, and I'm here with the other half of propertyCEO, Mr. Ian Child.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're well.
Good stuff. Give us a hands up. Give us a wave if you can hear and see us, please. Give us a wave. Give us a wave. Yes, you can. Good, 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 good. Lots of hands going up and down. Thank you very, very much. So if this is your first time, it's great to have you here. What have you let yourself in for, though? What are you doing here this evening? Well, our aim is to give you 45 minutes. I almost said 4.5 minutes, but no, we're going to go for 45 minutes of non-stop positivity all around the theme of business and property development. Isn't that right, Mr. Child?
Certainly is. Richie and I run a company called propertyCEO, and our job is to train people how to become successful small-scale property developers. Lots of amazing opportunities out there right now, particularly for new developers. So we want to help people find out more about those opportunities and to see if development might be a good fit.
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot going on out there in the world. I'm still not sure if we're in a recession yet. I don't think we officially are, but who knows? Anyway, the big thing about times like this, there are always opportunities out there. Opportunities if you seek them out. If you sit by, they will pass you by. But if you're interested in going out and grabbing them, now is interestingly a perfect storm for developers. There is really so much going on now that makes it really, really useful. Anyway, look, guys, we're always here to serve up predictions. Sometimes we have guests. I guess in a way it's a bit of training. But above all, we try and have a bit of fun, a bit of entertainment this evening. Happy to take questions. Please put questions in the chat box, because if we have no questions, we struggle with the show. And it's just Ian and I just chatting away for 45 minutes. I mean, it's shocking. That's no good. No good. So pop your questions in the chat box. We're going to do some news items. We've got another thing to talk to you about this evening, which we put out on the invite. And let's see who's on, though, first of all. So who is on this evening? Let me just move over here, pull my screen up. Okay, so Henry's on, Jacob's on, Amelia's on. That's good. Nice to see you. Charlotte's on, Dan, VJ, Dave's on, Lynette's on, Chris is on. Hello, Chris. We've just been training all day today, by the way. In the training session, Chris has been with us all day. And look at us now, Chris. We're still lively and full of beans this time of night. Anyone would think it's recorded, wouldn't they? But it's not. We are live. So Chris is on. Who else is on? Raj is on. Michelle's on. Deb's on. Jennifer's on. Sumi's on. Clive's on. Hello, Clive. He's on. Christine's on. Christine's been with us all day as well. Christine, I bet you're surprised as well. Teresa's on. Helen's on. Helen's been with us as well. Actually, quite a few of you have come to join us. This is how crazy it is. There's loads of people on here tonight, but you guys that's just probably spent about 7 hours with us today have come and spent another 45 minutes. You need to find something better to do in your life.
Get a hobby.
Chris says hardcore, exclamation mark. Hardcore or insane, Chris. You choose.
Insane. Yeah.
You. Raj says, hello, 18. Good to be joining in. Well, it's good that you are joining in, Raj. It's good that you are. And Ranjit from Property Investor News. Good evening, Ian, and the other half. The other half, that's me. What? So I've not even got my name mentioned, and he wants me to read out that he's Ranjit Singh from Property Investor News, and it's a good magazine. No chance tonight, Ranjit. Not after that.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen, Ranjit. I'm not going to mention Property Investor News even one more time more. Okay. Simon says, good evening, guys. And Michael says in Italian, good evening. I believe that's what he says. PC.
You're not going to risk it, are you? You're not going to risk it.
If it was Mexican, if it was Spanish, you know, Chinese, Japanese, I'd have done all that. But Italian, I struggle a little bit. I just struggle.
Yeah, we did pick that up, actually.
Yeah, I thought you did. So, guys, look, welcome to have you all here. I see other people are still joining, so welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, what we like to do is obviously give you a bit of news items, because you always want to know what's going on in the news. Someone said the other week, they said, you know, it's really good, actually. We like you doing the news items because it means that we don't have to bother looking the stuff up. As if we've not got enough to do. We've been training all day and tomorrow and the next day. So there you go. You must be hardcore, Chris, if you come back and spend another 3 days with us. Christine, she says, fascinating subject. Loved every moment of the course today. Well, I'm glad you did. We loved every moment as well.
We did.
Every moment.
Nice group of people.
Even the difficult questions we quite liked. Yeah. It's amazing how quick you can Google stuff. You know, because if people are asking us questions, we have a clue. We have to Google it really quickly. Right, have we got some news items, Ian?
We have some news items. Well, I've got a couple of news items. I've been digging into. I have to say, shouldn't have favourites, but there is a magazine, Planning Resource, that I quite like because it's got some good stuff on it in the wonderful world of planning. And of course, so much going on at the moment. But one of the things here, I've got the headline, I'll read it to you. Why legal experts believe a new commercial to residential PD right will make existing Article 4 exemptions redundant. So as we've talked about before, we've got this proposal from the government that the new Class E use class, which has got pretty much everything in the kitchen sink in it, commercial, light industrial, retail, and so on. The plan to move those to have permitted development rights to convert them into residential, which will it's in the offing and is likely to come in on the 1st of August, but it's in consultation. There was a risk that the local authorities would use Article 4 directions, which basically puts the kibosh on those things happening. So they basically play a trump card and means everything's got to go for planning. But what the legal experts believe is that actually those Article 4 exemptions that exist at the moment are too specific to kind of deal with the government's proposed plans, because they're actually not they're not keeping the existing PDs, they're actually changing them and making them much broader. So local authorities will have to go for new Article 4 directions if they want them. That will take at least a year, according to the legal experts, after the new rights come in, and they're worried that that gives 12 months of a bit of a free-for-all. I suspect that the government has already got this in hand, although it's playing its cards close to its chest. And I suspect that we'll hear over the months to come that they've got a plan to stop a free-for-all, and that, you know, we're going to end up in a situation where everything becomes residential in our town centres. But at the moment, yeah, everybody's making their voices heard. It remains to be seen. But interesting that the legal opinion seems to be that local authorities won't be able to stop this happening just by using Article 4 directions. So yeah, probably good news for developers in that respect.
Good stuff. Give us another article, Ian. You got another one?
Another one. Good Lord, man. Unbelievable.
Well,
right, I've got another one from, well, my favourite, Planning Resource. Other magazines are available. This one is a bit of a shocking headline, actually, for Planning Resource. Prime Minister, inverted commas, presiding over tsunami of environmental destruction driven by planning system. So that sounds quite full on. So it kind of linked again to these planning changes. There seems to be a number of people from on this sort of environmental lobby groups, including people like the National Trust, actually, basically concerned that the ability, the PD right that enables people to developers to convert empty retail space into residential is going to have an impact and cause particularly some of the historic city centres like Bath and York to become characterless, and that they're going to lose a lot of those kind of heritage values as a result of that. And also, I think it extends also to the countryside. There's this that the PD thing is kind of leading and it's sort of urban sprawl is the kind of headline that they've been using. So again, interesting perspective. There's clearly some risks there of that need to be addressed, and it links back to the first comment really, which is that we're waiting for the government to see how it's going to address them. I think we're in that part of the game, aren't we, where the government's said what it's going to do. It's waited for all hell to break loose, which it's currently doing, and then because it's in a consultation, I'm sure it will tell us that everything's going to be all right in the end, and they have a cunning plan, which will hopefully it will take effect on the 1st of August. So there you go. There's my two. You just you haven't got one?
No, I'm going to do two very quick items, and then we're going to talk about something else. So very quickly, Property Week. I'd actually got an article in there today, and it said over 10 million square foot of office space lost as COVID hit. Now, we've been talking recently on the show, those of you that are regulars on here will be well aware that we've been talking about the amount of retail space that has been coming on the market. We're here, 10 million square foot of office space lost. And they're talking about, actually interesting, a sixth successive year, 6 years in a row, the decreasing requirement for office space after a decade of expansion from 05 to 14. Well, we knew the world was changing, things are changing, and they now say it's going to accelerate massively over the coming years. And so really, I just pulled that article out in as much as in Property Week, they're really saying what we're telling you is that the office market, is going to be putting a lot of stock forward for developers to take forward. Now, another little one, interesting, we'll finish on this because you've always got to finish on a humorous story for the news. Developers using vegetable plots to appease planning departments. You heard it here first, okay? It doesn't actually tell you much, but it brought a smile to my face as a headline, and it basically talks about a particular developer that's actually put in vegetable plots or courtyards, I think they were calling them, as a suggestion that they were getting around the planners and getting around the planning system, providing amenity and saying that people want to grow their own veg to try and get through the system. Not quite sure the full extent of the story, but it's like the fluffy cat at the end of the news that can do tricks. Vegetable plots appease planning. I like it. Okay, there we go. There's a few bits of the news. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. See, Heather's just joined us. Mark's just joined us. Anyone that's joined us late, if you've missed the beginning, you can always catch up on YouTube. All the versions are there recorded. There we go.
Fantastic. And tonight you've let yourself in for a Mr. Clapson exclusive because Richie, you're going to be talking all about recession and in particular how we can get good deals, good property deals, good development deals during a recession, aren't you?
I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it reasonably quickly. A lot of you know that I do talk quite slow, so I'm going to try and speed up a little bit this evening, mainly because this is a Q&A. We want to answer questions. So all we're going to do is give you a bit of food for thought, and then you can start throwing some questions in the chat box. I see a few have come in already, but you don't even know what the subject is, but that's fine. We're going to pick questions up, and we're going to be answering those. So I just want to give you a food for thought, just stimulate a few things, keep you awake. We need to know you're there. So how to get some of the best deals in a recession or during a recession? Well, there's one secret. Grab a pen and paper. Write this down, okay? Are you ready? Got your pens and paper? Give me a hand up if you've got a pens and paper, please. Give the hands up. And no hands going up. I can't do it. Yeah, okay. Clive says yes. Chris says yes. Dave. Hello, Dave. You're on as well. Good stuff. Eldo. Yes, hello. Welcome as well, Eldo. Saw you today. Okay, hands are up. Pen and paper. Write down this. Rapport. That's what you're going to write down. Just build rapport. It's almost as simple as that, guys, okay? You've got to go out there and build rapport. And you've got to build rapport with who? Well, with agents, okay? We'll be talking about that today on the training session. You've got to go and build a relationship with agents. The agents will be the commercial agents, not the resi agents, the commercial agents will likely be the people that will get some of the earliest deals out there, okay? You can definitely do off-market stuff. We've been chatting and training about that today. But the deals that will come quickly to the market will be through the agents. And rapport is what you need. I looked up a definition of rapport. I'm going to read this. It's on the screen in front of me. It says a close and harmonious relationship in which the people or groups concerned understand each other's feelings or ideas and communicate well. I feel we've got rapport with you. I understand your feelings out there. We know what you're going through. But do you have rapport with an agent? Ask yourself, and I often say to people, do you know them well? You've got a good rapport. Yeah, oh yeah, brilliant. So they're married, they've got kids? Oh, I don't know. Are they in hobbies? Oh, you like football. Which team do they support? Oh, I don't know. And if you don't know about someone, how can you build rapport? You've got to get to know someone. You build rapport with an agent, and when you know how to build rapport properly, that was easy to say, wasn't it? Then you are going to get success, because the early deals will come to the commercial agents, okay? They definitely will. But here's another little thing. You've written rapport down. Write this next to it. 7. Write the number 7 next to it. I know it's quite a challenge tonight. This writing is a lot to do, but rapport and 7. Because on average, it takes 7 meetings, 7 hits, 7 points of contact before someone wants to work with you, okay? Ian had to ring me 7 times before we decided to go into business together. I didn't want to be fair, the first 3 I didn't answer. I was in, but I didn't answer it. But this is well known. People know this in marketing circles, all sorts of industries. You've probably heard this before. 7 hits, 7 points of contact. So building this rapport takes time. If you want to get a good deal, get on it now. We're in lockdown, we struggle. Don't wait, it's excuses. You can do anything virtually. Anything, I understand. So definitely you can build rapport with agents, but 7 hits. So you've got rapport and 7. Your aim is to be taken seriously, okay? Credibility, branding, we've been talking about that on the training session today. Really, really important. You've got to be taken seriously by that agent. You've got one shot when you go in there. Fail at the first hurdle, you're out. So you've got to have credibility, which means you've got to have a good brand. That comes from credibility, okay? Sorry, the credibility comes from the brand. Get it the right way around, chicken and egg and all that. So you've got to get that absolutely spot on. You've got to know how to do that. Here's another thing though. Don't always assume that an agent is on your side. Now, if there's any agents in tonight, I do apologize, but please don't assume an agent is always on your side. Are they on the vendor's side? Who's paying them? Well, the vendor. Generally, the vendor's paying them, a commission for selling. So don't, and of course, they're trying to maximize the vendor's price. Yes, they're probably going to work with you as a repeat client, but don't always assume that the agent's on your side, okay? And write this down. So you got rapport, you got number 7. And right next to that, cards. Yeah, cards, C-A-R-D-S. It's not complicated. It's going to make it very easy tonight because we know it's late. So you've got rapport, you've got 7, you've got cards. Cards, what do I mean? Well, it's like a game of cards. Just had a chat actually with Helen earlier this evening. We were talking about a game of cards, weren't we, Helen? Helen and Tom. I'm assuming Tom's out there as well this evening. So welcome, Tom, if you are. Any business deal is like a game of cards. You play your cards very close to your chest. Don't show people straight away what you do, what you've got. Too many people do that in business. You talk too quickly. Less is more. So it's like a game of cards. You don't have to say too much. You don't have to give too much away. If you've built that relationship, okay, you've got that good rapport, then you can get to a position where firstly, make a verbal offer, okay? Why? You think put it in writing. Why don't we make a verbal? We're wasting our time. It's all about building a relationship, because if you put an offer in writing, and it's not accepted, you could get kicked straight back out. If you've built rapport, 7 hits, game of cards, you might get a chance that the agent actually says to you, no, that's not going to work, and give you a bit of a steer or a bit of a nudge in the right direction. They may not tell you. If you've got really strong rapport, they'll probably tell you, I tell you what you need to do. You need to offer this and you'll get it. And genuine, not just talking the deal up. But when you offer verbally, you're going to get that feedback. And you go quiet on the phone. So I'd like to offer 750,000. Don't write 750,000 down, because it depends what the deal is. It's not always 750,000, okay? And the agent's going to do one or two things straight away. He's only going to go, oh, you're going to hear it on the phone, aren't you? Or he's got, oh, okay. So now you know straight away whether you're in the right ballpark. Do you get that response on an email? I know when you send one off, it goes, but you don't actually get a response back, do you? But verbally, you will. You're going to get some reaction, particularly if you go quiet. Rather than say, oh, what do you think? I can offer 750, what do you think? No, just say, I'd like to offer £750,000. And remain quiet. So make that verbal offer. You are going to get a response out of that. And if you've got a really good rapport with the agent, they will let you get to the vendor. Okay, go to the vendor. Talk direct with the vendor and find out what the vendor's motivation is. Write that down, motivation. That's a bigger word. I know we're stretching it a little bit this evening. Just write MOT if you're not sure, okay? But write motivation down. Because then if you can get there, you can get directly with the vendor. You can find out what it is they want rather than what the agent's saying. But please, okay, do not cut the agent out, okay? Just write don't cut. Don't cut the agent out the deal. Because you might think, oh, I can save a couple of quid here. The vendor might even suggest it, but don't. Because the agent ultimately are people that's going to bring you deals. So, secret. I know it's not that much of a secret. Well, I told you now, haven't I? But it's very simple in lots of ways. It's rapport. It's 7 hits. It's a game of cards, always, okay? It's about motivation, and don't cut the agent out. But rapport is the most important thing. There we go. There's a little tip on how you find deals in a recession. Now we can take any questions on that, or indeed absolutely anything to do with property. What have we got, Ian? Got any questions?
We've got quite a few questions, actually. We've got one here from Darren. Good evening, Darren. Darren asks, how many agents do you think we could or should build relationships with? Okay, so the trick here is to systemize it. You need to obviously work out which area that you're looking in and then make a list of all the agents in that area. What tends to happen is you'll get on everybody's got a mailing list, everybody's got a list that they can add you to. You need to contact all of them, and you need to follow up with all of them. Just simply getting yourself on the mailing list and leaving it there and think I've done the job. That's not it. That's the easy part. The difficult part is ensuring that you follow up. But you'll tend to find that some agents are more proactive than others, and that's where you really want to build that relationship. Richie talks about rapport. It's impossible to really build massive rapport with 50 different agents. What you end up doing is really focusing on the ones that you had a good connection with, and perhaps the ones that seem to be more proactive. And when you do that, that's where you're in a really good space. Many developers actually get deals just from 1 or 2 agents. Now they've got a long-standing rapport and relationship that works very well for them. And of course, we know all the agents, they've got these black books. When an opportunity comes up, they put the call into the people that they think are going to be preferred buyers. So that's where we want to be. So you'll be getting on everybody's mailing list, but the special relationship you'll have is with the ones that you think are going to be proactive on your behalf. Darren, hope that helps. What about you, Rich? Got one?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me pick up a couple here, because Sumi's said, so good evening, Sumi. It says, surely a good rapport means not cutting the agent out at all. Absolutely. If you've got a really good rapport with someone, you're not going to do that anyway. You don't want to. But one thing you want to make sure here is you're not trying to make the agent your mate. Okay, I'm assuming you got friends. Okay, so if you've got friends, I've always worked on this mantra: do not mix business with pleasure. Okay, if you've got friends, have friends. Do whatever you want with your friends. Let your guard down. Go crazy. Whatever you want to do. Okay, business is business. Yes, you can have a laugh. No problem going to social functions. But are they your friend or are they a business acquaintance? And so yes, if you've got good rapport with them, you're not going to let them down. So absolutely. And Thomas says, will I have to pay agents? No, not normally, because normally, Thomas, the agent is paid for by the vendor. The vendor basically, as you would if you sell your house, you're going to pay your 1% or 1.5% or whatever it is you're going to pay. Commercially, there'll be a similar thing. In some instances, some agents will try and charge you, and some will do a search. They'll do a finder's fee. So some agents will say, well, tell me what it is you want, and I'll go and find it, even if it's not on my books. And that's okay, providing they're actually going out and finding stuff. You know, if they've already got stuff that they actually were getting on their books anyway, well, you know, that's just them getting the double bonus, which is not really fair. But you'll soon get a feel for that. So no, you shouldn't necessarily have to be paying agents. There we go. Oh, and as you says, the property market still seems still buoyant. Well, I don't think it is, I'm afraid. I think you'll actually find at the moment most residential agents are reporting the market now getting flat. Whether they're reporting that officially out there, but I can tell you in circles that I move in, people are saying it's very flat at the moment, and things are slowing down. So yes. Anyway, what have we got next, then, Ian?
I've got one here from Michelle, who asks, do we start the relationship building after we have our branding and website sorted? So ideally, yes, Michelle, one of the things that, you know, we only get this one chance to make a first impression. And of course, we know, particularly with agents, they're passionate about a couple of things. One, getting good offers in terms of value, but also getting proceedable buyers. And they need to have confidence that the offers they're putting forward to clients are from people that are likely to proceed. Of course, if you've got a very impressive track record, experience, relationship with the agent and so on that goes back decades, then that box is already ticked. But for particularly if you're a new developer, you haven't got that benefit. So what you need to do is to build that credibility, and you do that by, obviously, your professional team has a lot of credibility, but things like the website and having your branding all set up, ready to go, you can be sure that they're going to check you out. If you've arranged a meeting with them, one of the first thing they'll do is go on your website and check you out. If you haven't got one, it just makes you look like perhaps you're not serious, perhaps it's more of a hobby than a business, or maybe it's just a tentative inquiry. If they can see a professional website sitting behind it and a brand and so on, then it ticks a big box. So I would say absolutely get your brand sorted first of all. It really doesn't have to take a long time to do that, or a lot of money to do that. Do it quite easily, but do it and then build your professional team and build your relationships after that. There you go.
I like it, the fact that very quickly as you started telling Michelle that, she wrote, okay, I'll get on with it then, exclamation mark, thanks. Michelle's put another question in, which I think is a bit of a chapter and verse and a story of her life here. I moved to Edinburgh a year ago, and I love it, and will stay. My family and friends live in West Yorkshire, which I know like the back of my hand. Question. Oh, we haven't got to the question. Yeah, here we go. The question. Are PD rights the same in Scotland and England? Also, what it goes on and on and on, Michelle. When did you type all this? But the first part of Michelle's question is, are PD rights the same in Scotland as England? No, they're not. Scotland and Wales don't have any. Okay, so you're not able to. I know why you don't have any. I don't know, but you don't have them up there. But Michelle goes on.
So you do have them, but you don't have them in the same way. They're not the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very, very different. Okay, but Michelle goes on to say, basically, if I summarize the 7 pages of notes that Michelle gave us to frame the question, it basically says, and I can take the mick a little bit because, well, we do out of anyone, but Michelle is a student of ours, but I can take the mick out of anyone because it's just the way we do it, isn't it? But basically, she goes on to say, should she develop in Scotland and build a team there, or develop in Yorkshire, or do both? I don't think there's any real answer. It depends what you want to do. I think if you want to take advantage of all the UK, the English PD rights that we have, the shop conversions, the retail, the office, etc., etc., and you find that's where you want to be, and I think those are probably the easiest deals to do, then what I would probably do is develop in England where those PD rights exist, clearly, because there's going to be the path of least resistance. If you want to hold a portfolio, I'd take that money back to Scotland, which you love, and there's lots of friends there, and you're going to stay. I get all that. Okay, I'd take that money and build my portfolio back there. That's how I would do it. I wouldn't necessarily build 2 teams, one up there, one down here. Maybe in time, but I'd work where it's easier to get the development done. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a steer. And no, thanks for putting the question in. Just took me about 15 minutes to read it. What's next, Ian?
Well, Michelle says, I'll get on with it then again. So she's got 2 things to do now, Michelle. The next one I've got here is a follow-up from Helen. Should we get a professional to do our website? Entirely up to you. I'll be honest, it's really a horses for courses thing. Why learn how to build a website if you're only going to build one? I'd get somebody else to do it. It's relatively inexpensive to get a good one. There are some sort of hybrid options where you can use sites like Wix.com and so on that like click and drag type things where you can build it yourself. But again, there's a learning curve for you. Whatever happens, make sure that the website that you end up with ticks the P box. It looks professional. It doesn't have to look like Amazon's or Apple's or anything like that. It doesn't have to have any great functionality, but it does need to look professional. So that's the most important thing. There are probably a lot more better use of your time than learning how to create a website, and it's not that expensive to do. So personally, I think I'd outsource it. Hope that helps.
Good. Sue's question is, do you think that most potential vendors will go to agents first, or do you not think we could get to them early so there are no agents involved? Well, I actually think, as I said, so they're probably going to go to the agents first, because let's have a think. But yes, you could potentially get to them and there will be no agent involved, and that's no problem at all. Going direct to vendor can work extremely well. But if you're a vendor out there, and let's say you're highly motivated, Sue, you want to sell your building on because your tenants just left, your business has just collapsed, or it's reshaped or reformed, whatever that might be, okay? What do you do? Well, the chances are the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find out, well, hang on a minute, who sells buildings? I don't know, commercial agents. You're going to go to a commercial agent probably relatively quickly. The chances of Sue, you, or anyone else to develop just having that right timing is obviously quite slim. Now, it is possible. So direct to vendor route does work extremely well. It's part of a strategy of finding deals, which should run in parallel with this building of rapport. Okay, but as I said earlier tonight, the quickest way to get these deals is building rapport. I'm not saying you don't do some direct to vendor stuff in the background, and there are ways that you should think about doing that. Okay, not necessarily the same as you would do on a buy-to-let or HMO type, trying to find those sort of deals, but there are ways you can go straight to a vendor and try and tackle them and get that deal. But it is a numbers game compared to going and building that rapport where you know that that agent is the source of deals. It will be coming to them. So you're always going to get a lot more that way first. So hopefully that tells you that answer. What's next, Ian? What have you got?
I got one here from Henry, who asks, how should we approach an agent if we have never done any development before? Surely they won't take me seriously before I have done something. How do I get over that? Well, Henry, it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's about creating a brand. So that's one thing, so that you've got a website, you've got a brand behind you and your business. It's quite straightforward to do that. But one of the things you've got to remember here is that in terms of who's actually building this project, it isn't going to be you. You don't have to roll up your sleeves and get the trowel out. You've actually got a team of people. And if you look at your team that you'll be putting together, they have got decades and potentially centuries of experience between them. And that's one of the interesting things. There's a kind of difference about development when people like agents, and certainly when lenders look at development. They're looking at things like the deal and they're looking at the team as well as looking at you. Whereas when we're in the kind of residential space, typically everybody's just looking at you. The other thing to bear in mind is that everybody in the world of property, apart from the developer, generally gets a fee for what they do. The agents are no different. And of course, if all of the old developers die out, their business is going to die out. So they're always looking for new people coming in. And of course, the new developer of today is the old developer and the experienced developer of tomorrow. People that typically get into development do more than one project. So for everybody involved, it makes sense to court new developers because they're the lifeblood of the industry, and they're the ones that are generating the opportunities going forward. So you just tend to take the view that you're the only one that's got that thought in your head that you're the newbie who's never done it before. You just need to present yourself in a different way and think of yourself as a different way. You're the entrepreneur that's pulling a team together to make this happen. And it's not a unique journey. Many people have done it before. So yeah, we're not having to invent something from scratch here. Your team has got loads of experience doing this. So there you go. But common question, a common issue.
Okay. Two questions here, which I'm going to pick up from two different people because they're both about auctions and we're trying to answer them in one. So Lynette says, good evening, Lynette. She says, in a recession, there'll be quite a few going to auction. You put an it in there. I don't know what that it's for. What are your thoughts on buying commercial properties at auction? That's the next question. And then Clive's question, which is about auctions as well. So let me just scroll down. There's lots of questions here, so we've got to make sure we try and get through as many as we can. We can't promise to get through them all because I've got to just find Clive's. There it is. Clive says, so good evening, Clive. It says, it appears that a lot of commercial properties are coming to the market at auction. You must have been talking to Lynette. These are sometimes London city-based, but they sell properties all over the country. What is the best way to monitor the auctions and not miss properties in the areas you're concentrating on? Well, some of these auction sites let you do alerts, okay, so much the same way as you can Rightmove and Zoopla and Estates Gazette, you can set up alerts on some auction sites, okay, so that is entirely possible to go and do. Clearly you can just have a process of trawling through the catalogue yourself. You can get a VA, so a lot of people will employ virtual assistants, don't cost you a lot of money, who would just trawl through those sort of things themselves. If some of these auction houses don't have alert processes, you can get a VA, you can describe to the VA exactly what you want, and for not too much money, each month, every few weeks, you can get a report out of a VA of what's going on at the latest auction houses, given the criteria that you want them to search. The other way, it comes back to that report, Clive. So all auction houses have someone at the top. Okay, there is someone senior in that auction house. So one of the guests that we've had on here is one of the senior guys in Fox & Sons auctions, residential auctions. And, you know, they've down here, this guy's based down here on the south. We've had him on Open Door. He's a good friend of mine. I say business friend of mine. I don't go out and party with him at weekends. So obviously we're not allowed, we're in lockdown. But, you know, he's the sort of guy I know in business. I can pick up the phone, ring him and he'll answer it. Hello, Rich, you all right? Oh, hopefully he will anyway. And I say, hello, how are you then, Russell? Yeah, and he'd say, not too bad. And we do all that. And then I might say to Russell, I'm looking for this. What have you got coming up? And he might say, I'll tell you what, leave it with me. And he'll tip me off. He'll let me know what's coming up. So all these auction houses like every company has someone up at the top. Okay, I know a few of the guys that run some of these London auction houses. You just got to go out there, Clive, and build a relationship with them, get to know them. And of course, in lockdown, it's really good. We had completely unrelated, but we got a service provider to this business. And the other evening, I know Ian came into my office quite smiling. We were working late one evening, and he came in. He'd rung this company, and the MD had answered because we're in lockdown. It was after hours, and the MD answered. And I think Ian had about an hour call with the guy, and it was great. And so you can get to these people. So that's a great thing, Clive. Go and build some rapport. Get to them. Get to the guy or the girl at the top, and they'll also give you that that indication. So Lynette and Clive, hopefully that's answered a few questions for you. You'll go in.
Okay, got one here from Suzanne, which I think we might have covered in a roundabout way, but you talked about building a good relationship with agents. Then you talk about don't tell them everything. How does that work? Surely these two comments don't work hand in hand. Okay, so Richard made the point that agents don't work for you, so they work for the vendor. And of course, if they're doing viewings, as an example, and you go around and you tell them about your wonderful idea to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and how you can add value and create a business opportunity from perhaps, I don't know, converting this building, then of course, what's the agent going to do? They're not sworn to secrecy. They are probably going to share that as their idea with every other person that comes around to view the property. So you really don't want to be sharing that information with them. It is relatively straightforward process to just keep your cards close to your chest, as Richie said. So, you know, maybe you're looking to kind of land bank. Maybe you're a developer that's just looking to buy that sort of property and hold it because you see that there are potential opportunities in the future. But you're under no obligation to share your life story with the agent. At the end of the day, as far as they're concerned, they just need to know that you're a serious player, a serious potential buyer, and that you're offering a good price. So yeah, you don't need to tell them everything, and they won't worry about that. There you go.
Don't tell them a thing. Okay, I'm going to pick up two questions here. I'm going to do a double one again, but these are two different questions, but I'm just going to go for the two of them because I've read them both now. Christine says, I Googled commercial agents and found a lot of big companies. Who should I talk to? Well, Christine, good to see you on here this evening after spending a day with us. That's the same as I just said about the auction houses. Find the person at the top. Okay, if it's a national company and you're trying to deal with a regional office in your area, then don't speak to someone at head office. That's not going to work. So go onto their websites, try and find out who are the people. Okay, now normally most websites will have the about or the team, and find out who the local senior person is and start to try and build that relationship with them. Try and get to that person. Okay, one of the things we teach people when we train students is actually how you actually get to the person at the top, how you build this rapport where actually you become, as far as they're concerned, commercially, their best mate. You know all about them. You know what they do. You have the common ground. You find it. And there are ways that you can get through, little tricks of the trade. How can you get through to the person that runs that local regional office? There are ways you do it, but that's who you need to get to, Christine. You need to build the relationship with them. You need to build the rapport to get to them. So first thing is find out who's at the top. If it's not on the website, go to Company's House. And then I'm going to pick up Thomas's question because we're trying to get as many questions as we can tonight. And there's a stack in, guys, so we're never going to get through all of these. But Thomas says, hi, guys. It seems that tons of costs are involved in a commercial to resi, and I'm struggling to see how any deal actually stacks up. So Thomas, then what I might suggest to you is, yes, there are a ton of costs involved. If you're struggling to see how any deal stacks up, then that's probably because you don't know how to stack up a deal, with all due respect, okay? Because there are plenty of deals out there that will stack up. The cost can seem quite significant, but the returns are equally significant. So yes, you can take office space, you can take retail space under permitted development rights at the moment and do some fantastic conversions. Maybe, Thomas, I don't know what your background is. Maybe you've done some smaller flips, or maybe you've got a buy-to-lets, you've done those sort of refurbs. In that case, you're used to smaller numbers. And when people start saying, this is going to cost $750,000 to convert this, you go, $750,000? Where am I going to get that type of money? How can this possibly stack up? And maybe there's certain deals don't. Okay, there's a phrase we use here, and a common phrase, you've got to kiss a lot of frogs, Thomas. You've got to look at a lot of deals to actually get one that works. The key is, though, I've seen many people give development a go, or try and give development a go, and they look and they search and they analyze, they look and they search and they analyze, and they do all that time and time again, and then they go, Waste of time. That development lark, I'm not going to bother with that because none of the deals stack up. Why? Why did they give up? Because they didn't know what they were doing. Okay. And just because that person over there, well, yeah, they must have got it wrong. No, that person over there that's doing that development, that's got that deal, knows how to stack a deal up. So let me ask you, Thomas, look around your area, your locality. Are people developing? If they are, chances are 9 out of 10 of them have got a deal that stacks up. So probably, Thomas, is you need to know how to stack a deal up. You need to know what you don't know. No, that doesn't answer your question, but in a way it does. Here, what have we got?
We've got one here from Ryan, who I suspect might have missed the top of the show, because he asked, if we can build a good relationship with the vendor, should we try and deal direct to save the agent's fee? So the answer to that question is definitely a no. Basically, yeah, bad karma all round. Yes, you could save a few bob. The net impact potentially could be that you are sort of blackballed by the whole of your local estate agent community, which isn't going to do you any favors at all. So you don't want to become persona non grata with anybody. It's a small world out there. So no, do the decent thing. If you've been introduced by the agent, then the agent deserves their commission for doing it. You're far better to cultivate great relationships with agents and make the most of the opportunities through there, rather than trying to undercut them. So that's a resounding no. But thank you for your question.
Good stuff. Thomas says, great, thanks, no problem at all. And I see, Thomas, just to trick us, you put your question in several times, but you're not going to get us on that one. We're not going to re-answer the same question, Thomas. But no, glad we've helped. And Lynette says, thank you, Richie. Sorry about the extra it. Yes, you put it in just to confuse me when I'm reading it out. That's outrageous, isn't it? Outrageous. Kathy says, Kathy, I'm going to be shouting at you in a minute. Kathy says, what about, listen to this, guys. Now, I know a few of you are regulars to the show. I know a lot of you looking down the list are probably quite new, but some of these might be your first time. Give us a wave if this is your first time on the show. Give us a wave if it's your first time. Yeah, a few of you. Good.
Give us a wave if it's your last time on the show.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. 5. So Kathy says, so a few of you regulars will realise what I'm going to say now. Kathy says, what about going for land assembly? They always look low risk because you don't have to buy the land. You can do an option. Then you can get the planning uplift. Oh, Kathy, if it was so easy as that, that'd be great, but it's not. Look, one thing we do on this show, and this is quite quick fire, this is not meant to totally train you, this is meant to give you some real honest. We say no fluff, no BS on this show. We're just going to tell you how it is. And whilst, Kathy, that is great, it does sound good, and a lot of people make a lot of money out of planning uplift. That's a difficult road to go down. It depends how much time you've got, okay? One thing I can tell you, for new developers, for your first deal, categorically, we would tell all new mentees of ours, do not go down the planning route. Do not go down land assembly route, even worse, okay? And if you do, I said it on the training day today, I said, if you do, we'll be round. I know that's not a nice thought, us knocking on your door late at night, telling you off, but that's what we do because we don't want you to do it. And why don't we want you to do it? Well, first of all, planning system in this country is a bit of a mess, okay? It's hard work getting through. Yes, you can get the planning uplift, but it can take you a long time. If you've got the time and you've got a bit of money to speculate, great. So it's a great thing to do once you're up and running, but not as a first development. Option agreements, great. There's a little phrase, the man with the deepest pockets wins. And that could be a man or a woman, doesn't matter. But the principle there is, if there's an option agreement, and I've seen many a newbie developer fall foul of this, where they try and do an option agreement with someone, they don't do it that well, or actually they just haven't got the money to back it up. And actually, one particular case where a guy did a deal with a landowner, a farmer, and then they got the planning uplift, and the farmer went basically 2 fingers to you. And this newbie developer, we didn't train him, thankfully. I told him straight before he was doing it, but he didn't listen. And basically, the landowner said, well, it's just tough. And he said, but we got an option agreement. He said, sue me. Well, yeah, great. So what? The landowner's got plenty of money. The newbie developer went, well, I can't afford to go down that road. So the one with the deepest pockets win. And then when you talk, Kathy, about land assembly, you think about that process. Yes, you can get some terrific uplift out of land assembly. But land assembly is buying lots of different bits of land off lots of different people, often back gardens, and they'd never even thought about selling it. So you've got to get Mr. and Mrs. Jones, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Mr. and Mrs. Ronson. Lots of other names are available, of course. And you've got to negotiate with all of them, get them all to get their land together. It's hard work. Not a problem to do it alongside in a few years, but please stick to PD. Kathy, thank you very much. Ian, have we got one more we can fit in?
I've got one more, I think quite a quick one here from Karen. You mentioned 7 points of contact before someone wants to work with you. Why is that? And that's basically rapport, Karen. At the end of the day, all of the relationships that you kind of have in this space, in the development space, are quite important to the other people concerned. Estate agents get a commission from selling you stuff. Lenders are going to lend you a lot of money. Your professionals are going to get paid by you. So everybody's kind of got a vested interest and quite a big vested interest in having a relationship with you and a positive one. So they're going to be kicking your tires fairly hard to make sure that you're a good bet. And it's very difficult to do that with one bite of the cherry. So typically it takes most people multiple times, multiple connections in order to be comfortable to kind of work with somebody and progress. And as Richie mentioned earlier, that's something that's well established, not just in the world of property, but in the world of commerce generally. So there you go.
The last thing, Bill said, what's land assembly? Bill, hopefully I answered that when I went on to talk about land assemblies, putting packages of land together. So hopefully you've got that. Thomas says, thanks. The honesty from you guys is great. There's no point blacking, is there? There's no point giving you a load of BS because you don't want that. I mean, this is a bit of fun, hopefully a bit of entertainment, but you want straight, honest answers. That's the most important thing in life. And if you want to be told you shouldn't do something, then that's what you should be told. Look, that's it, guys. We've overrun Q2 just a little bit, but hopefully that's been interesting. Please, as we wrap up the end of the show, put in the chat box if you've enjoyed the show. If you haven't enjoyed the show, don't put that in the chat box because we're quite sensitive people. We get upset. Next week's show is Thursday, the 25th at 7 o'clock as normal. If any of you out there are interested to get into development, Bill, you want to know a bit more about land assembly, if you want to dip your toe in the water, we are running a series of free sessions, totally free. You can come and join us for 3 hours. We are live during those 3 hours, myself and Ian, and we will do an introduction. It's called a six-figure roadmap, an introduction to property development. If anyone's interested, then by all means, you can have a look at that. There is a link. You want to write this down, propertyceo.co.uk/roadmap. So normal propertyceo.co.uk/roadmap. Pop onto there. We're running a couple of those events in March. You are more than welcome to join us. I think we're pretty much done, aren't we, Ian?
I think we are.
Good stuff. Okay, so it looks like you've enjoyed it. Michelle says, that was great. Thanks. And she put a little kiss at the end, and I think that says a lot. Michelle, thank you very much. Let's have a look. Bill says, thank you. Deb says, thanks, A-Team. Have a great evening. We will. Thank you so much, says Christine. Helen says, you guys are amazing. I know we're amazing. Absolutely. Chris says, thanks. Great show as always. See you in the morning. We certainly will, Chris. Bill says, very interesting. 45 minutes. Just over 45 minutes. Sorry about that, Bill. Thanks again. Superb performances, gentlemen. Great show as usual, says Raj. Glad you enjoyed it. Cheers, chaps, says Clive. Thanks very much. See you all soon. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye.